think that's going. I think that's going.
Nice. Nice.
There we go.
Okay. Good to go whenever you are.
Yeah, I am ready.
All right. All right. We are good to go. How you doing, Magisto? Welcome on in. Thank you, everybody, for being here early. Appreciate you guys. We have some fun plans today, which you can probably assume from the title and thumbnails, of course. But yeah. So, last VOV before the Alpha 2 day. It sure is. It really is. Yeah. Yeah, this is the last one because we'll more than likely not stream next Tuesday like we usually do, and just stream Wednesday before the stream, perhaps. All right, let's go ahead and do some proper introductions while we get some people in here.
Sounds good.
Welcome to episode 55 of the Voices of Verra with myself, Nyce Gaming, no one, and of course you, the Voices of Verra. We have a lot in store for you guys today. We are going to be talking about the BARD. The BARD archetype, if you were not aware, is the upcoming showcase next week, next Wednesday from this current date. And it's a very interesting archetype you don't see in every MMO. So what we're going to do today's stream is we're going to essentially theory craft some skills. Like, what do you want to see out of the BARD archetype? What are some things you want to see in that archetype kit? Maybe we get into augments, but we're going to try to stick to what active skills, maybe passives, but let's go ahead and we're going to probably stick with what active skills are we expecting to see on the archetype? What do you want to see on the archetype? And it's not going to just be me and no one talking about this. We want you guys in chat. If you got a really good skill that you want to see, pitch it. We'll add it to the list, or see, you'll get our feedback, chat's feedback on like, oh, I'd like to see something like that. So I really think this one will be fun. But yeah.
Yeah. No, first of all, I want to say, what's going on, Nyce? How was your weekend? How's everything with you? It's been a while since it's been two of us, so.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's been good. What about you?
It was good. It was good. Finally got a little bit cooler this weekend, so that was nice, and got some stuff done. And yeah, I am personally really excited to talk about the BARD. I've brought that up quite a bit. It's not going to be my main character, guys. Probably not, but as far as like my second character I make, my second character will definitely be a BARD for all the reasons we discuss in this episode, and what we see on the live stream, as long as they don't mess it up. So yeah. Do you want to dive into it right away, or do you want to kind of tease them a little bit?
I'll tell you what, I think let's tease first. Just as I said, let's do an introduction.
Sure.
Introduction, because it's not an archetype commonly found in most MMOs. You're more of the BARD. You're more of the person with the BARD interest per se. So yeah. How about you start us off with a proper introduction to the BARD archetype? What makes a BARD? You don't got to go through skills or anything, but what makes a BARD a BARD? Like, what's its identity? What's its role in a group comp?
I can tell you've been doing this for 55 episodes, Nyce, because that was like a perfect segue. For those of you guys that don't know, as of 4 days ago, Nyce and I have been doing Voices of Verra for a year. I just wanted to briefly mention that we're a year in, so I thought that was pretty cool. It's not a nice round number like 50 or 100, but 55 will work. 55 will work.
No, this is episode 50, bonus episode 5.
There you go. 50.5. 50.5, 137, whatever. So as far as the BARD goes, all of your preconceived notions on what a bard is, what you've seen in TV and social media, I think in this situation, we need to throw it out the window. And so when you guys come up with these ideas and when you're bouncing ideas off of what a bard will be, what I would say is I think you want to go more down the D&D route for bard and what bard traditionally is in older style games. One of the interesting things when I was doing research on my video that I came out with a few months ago, Nyce, was they talked about the reason bards are powerful is because they're actually channeling the voice of the gods. And that's way cooler than, comedic side effect guy that plays a lute, right? Like it's just infinitely better. And so when you look at what a bard is, it's not just music. They're not just there to sing a little song, play the flute for you or anything. It can be anything. Like Stephen Shreve has gone into different discussions about how it's a performative class. So things that they do on the battlefield can inspire you. So it could be, the way they swing their sword. They put a little flair, a little pizzazz to it because of their expertise in whatever they're doing. And that inspires people around them that are doing similar things to fight in that specific way. And so when you look at a bard, it's not just music. It's not just buffs. If they do this right, in my opinion, it's going to be a class that will be able to function in just about any way. It's going to be a jack of all trades style class, but what it does will inspire other archetypes and classes to be better at whatever they're trying to do. And so it's whatever they're doing and they're inspiring. And one of the videos I watched earlier today that I wanted to go in a little bit in depth on this, Nyce, is they talked about, it was a D&D bard, and they talked about how there's different professions. And so a bard is performative, right? But they're performative in their expertise. And so although they're a bard and although they're a little dramatic and they want to, be on front stage, they're still an assassin or a swordsman or a tank or whatever. They're just performing the abilities of the bard. So I think the comparison I would come up with is and this is going to be a terrible analogy for an MMORPG group, but everybody knows Steph Curry, right? There's a lot of players in the NBA that shoot threes, but Steph Curry shoots threes in a way that when he makes one and then he just turns around and runs off, it just kind of inspires the people around him to play in it. Like he's playing basketball like everybody else, but what he does, sometimes he makes a shot in a way that's just a freaking dagger, right? It's just, it functions differently. And so when I've been thinking about how a bard functions and how I would figure out their toolkit, I would go, okay, this bard is going to be a master swordsman. They're going to wield a sword in an effective manner. But although they're not from point A to point B, they're more dramatic. They have a little bit more flair to it, a little bit more pizzazz, I guess. And with how they performatively swing their sword, people are like, God damn, that looks fucking cool. We got to get going. And so that's inspiring other attackers to attack.
What if instead of like being an expert at a specific sword, what if bards, you can choose to spec into a specific instrument? Like maybe the tree is laid out like how we saw with the ranger, like you can go more into traps. This is a rough comparison. It wasn't exactly like that, but this is probably something we've seen more so with weapon trees. But what if and this is something I was going to get into earlier, but I guess I'll just still go ahead and say it now. But
sure,
what if the bard archetype tree is structured in a way to where, like, we know bard is, like you said, performative. What if one side is drums? Drums is all your attack bonuses, your AoE buffs, more than likely. The lute is more of your aggressive or CC. Maybe there's some songs that you can play, so you focus on snares, an AoE lullaby. Stun.
Sure. Jigglypuff shit.
Yeah, Jigglypuff stuff, exactly. Guitar can be another thing. Maybe has a couple of cleanses. You hear a certain song and it cleanses off 5 negative effects with a certain cooldown. And you can choose which one you're going to branch into. Maybe you can only hit 2 out of the 4 branches. Maybe one is dancing. Dancing has a certain kind of thing. There's so much potential with what they can do with the bard. They can just keep it simple. They don't have to get crazy innovative with it. I think you want to kind of stick to what people are expecting. But how are you gonna do it different?
What are you expecting?
I mean guitar.
Okay.
Lutes, flutes, guitars. I want to see a variety of instruments. Now bagpipe is I think I gotta ban you real quick. Hold on. Just No bagpipes, please. I think bagpipe, if it's just it should have the biggest debuff ever. Bagpipe should be the biggest debuff for anybody, even your allies that got to listen to that. It should just debuff everybody.
Well, what are you expecting? We might as well dive into that too, Nyce, before we dive into the abilities. What are you expecting from the Bard showcase overall? Because it's coming up here next week.
What am I expecting from the Bard showcase? I'm expecting some really good group gameplay. I'm expecting them to really, because it's not a DPS class, so I think we're going to get similar to what we saw in the recent cleric archetype showcase, where they were the focus of the stream. Obviously, they're the one that's being controlled, but they kind of let their group handle most of DPS, and then I just think we'll get something more on that line. I want to see a good sized group. Hopefully, some challenging content to where the Bard is useful. Hopefully, they separate it from just being another cleric. Not all games, from what I'm told, did a good job of that.
Yeah,
I'm expecting to be blown away, because this is the last archetype before Alpha 2, which to me means it's the archetype they've been working on the most. Like, it's what was our previous archetype? The fighter, right?
fighter, yeah.
And the fighter's been around for a while, but before they showcased it, before they like finalized it, it took a while. Like it was in the back pocket for a while before it got its own dedicated showcase, though it was lurking in the background. So this Bard, I think they got to show up to impress. And not really a tangent here, but I'm expecting a dwarf Bard. And so this is going to be their first opportunity to show a dwarf. And
Okay.
I think of all archetypes, I don't care what kind of human you show, how you do your dwarf, the rest of the MMO community as a whole, like people that are maining Final Fantasy, not even interested in Ashes of Creation, people that's maining ESO or other games, like how you do your Bard, like how you attack or approach that fantasy rather, is a big deal. And I think we've seen that their dwarves are looking good concept wise and what we've seen. So I mean, it should look good. I'm not expecting it to look bad. But yeah, like the Renkai, showing the Renkai was one thing, but you know, orcs can vary in how they look. You can't really,
Sure.
you could do an orc less preferable than another, but you can't really mess it up, right? It's your vision of the orc. But a dwarf, people have expectations. Want to put some gold on it? I just might. But yeah, I'm expecting dwarf, bard, and good, hopefully a POI or dungeon that justifies their group size. So maybe there's going to be a bard, a cleric, a fighter, and a ranger, and or a mage. Yeah, how you doing, Feppo?
Yeah, for me and my expectations for just specifically the Bard, I'm very excited about the announcement for the Alpha 2 date and all that, like everybody else. But as far as the Bard showcase goes, I want to see more than just song and dance. Like I want to see more than just like obviously it'll be the mainstay, right? Like what they play, like if they play a guitar or they play a lute or like whatever, like that's going to be the main point, and as it should be. That's the staple for the Bard. But at the same time, I want to see it be more. I want to see it like I've talked about with you about this quite a bit, but when I played Baldur's Gate and I play a Bard on there, it can do anything. It is the jack of all trades. I'm able to supplement whatever my team is lacking at that point in time, and it's just so cool to be able to have that type of tool. It's like a Swiss Army knife tool, right? Like whatever I come into a fight, I have the ability to really impact the outcome with if I play well on a class that's very versatile. And so I don't want to see the Bard personally as just like a buff bitch where you go in there and you're like, oh yeah, you get 20% more healing and you get 15% more attack damage, and I'm going to dance around over here. Like I want to see some of that, of course. Like I want to see some buff abilities because that's what they have. But then I also want to see like imbue weapon style abilities to where you can, you know, if you're running a bow, hypothetically, right, and you imbue your weapon with song or a performative ability, you then buff bowmen around you. Or if you're running if you're running sword and shield and you run the same type of imbue weapon, its ability can make tanks take, you know, it mitigates more damage. And so just stuff like that, like they're in the front line or they're on the back line, they're doing stuff just like everybody else. They're participating in the game, but they have the ability to amplify everybody around them by what they're doing because they're performing the ability in a way that inspires people around them to do so.
Fuppo says, is a bard supposed to be jack of all trades, or is that more of what the summoner is for? Yeah, I would agree with that. That's what the
Yeah.
summoner is. The bard, I think he means jack of all trades. Like it could fit into any group composition. Like you always need a bard. It can help everybody. I think it has its role in each group in that sense. But yeah, I guess the summoner is definitely the more pure jack of all trades. Yeah.
Yeah, I said that incorrectly. That's my bad. Summoner, yes, it's the jack of all trades. What I was more talking about is just the versatility that a bard has. Like if I can
Definitely.
if I can function on the front line, I should be able to do so, and I should be able to inspire people on the front line. I think I forget exactly what the quote that Steven had was, but he made a comment about when you swing your sword, you're inspiring people around you to fight, and I think that means that as a bard, you could either be a frontline or backline player. If you're inspiring healers to heal more by buffing their ability to push out healing, that's great. Or you can be more of a frontline, like in your face style bard, and potentially buff people in the front line as well. That's what I'm hoping to see.
So Jargon says nothing beats EverQuest Bard. Hello, by the way. Welcome on in. We appreciate you all being here. We're going to go ahead and get into the Bard active skills discussion. But before I do that, I got something to say. Do you want, and you kind of already answered this, honestly, but a concern of mine and a question I guess I have for you, I want to see a little bit of the offensive kit. I
Yeah,
do. So the
absolutely.
tank is a support kit, but everything that we did see with the tank, it was at least an offensive skill. Like it wasn't like the most damage, it wasn't DPS, but it's offensive skills. I know what I'm going to be using if I happen to be running solo at that moment. Now with the cleric showcase, I mean they stacked that bar and it was basically all heals. So, and I still want to know. Well, we know that an offensive cleric is possible, but I still want to see an offensive cleric. I want to see that
Yeah,
battle priest or that Templar, that paladin, whatever you want to call it. I want to
exactly.
see a cleric use its offensive kit. So now we gotta. Now the question is, when they show us the bard, are we just gonna go through 20 different skills and say, hey, this song increases mana regen. This song increases your allies attack bonus for X amount of time. This song makes it so that you can't be CC'd for the next 5 seconds on, and it has this much of a cooldown. Or are we gonna see some offensive things? Are we gonna play the lute and do a lullaby sleep? Are we gonna play a are we gonna stroke our guitar? I'm gonna keep saying guitar, chat. We're gonna stroke our guitar so fast that it makes a huge sound wave and it knocks everyone down in your path. Okay, that was horrible. But are we gonna see an offensive kit? But yeah. There's no
Yeah.
guest today, Fuppo. It's just no one and I. That's always a fun sentence to say.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nyce, because I mean we've had this discussion quite a bit. There's some archetypes that currently are extremely tied to weapons, and I think we've talked about this in the past. It's great that if a specific archetype is more specialized, like if that's their main weapon and that's what they're best at, that's cool. But it shouldn't be their only weapon. The class should be able to function outside of that.
Yes.
The main one is like ranger with a, we've only really seen bow skills. We haven't seen a melee ranger yet, which would be really cool. Be really cool to see like some of the melee based kit attached to the ranger. And so when you look at what the bard is, obviously they're going to have musical instruments. That's of course. Yeah. But like you, I want to see something functioning outside of that. How I envision a bard being able to be played is absolutely give the musical instruments. But if I want to run a great sword, I should be able to. I should have the ability. It doesn't have to be the same. It's not going to be the same damage as a fighter, but can it be like the tank? Can it be 70% of what the fighter is? And then I provide buffs to the group, and then I'm inspiring people. And so I'm still an offensive player. I'm still outputting damage, but I'm a force multiplier in my group due to the buffs I'm providing. But I also have damage of my own, and so I think that's where you can separate what the bard is, and you can go different routes with the specific archetypes and augments of different abilities that they so choose to do.
Well said. So with that being said, I think we're about 20 minutes in. Let's go ahead and start theorizing what active skills we want to see on the bard archetype. So chat, you will be joining in this as well. So, and we'll go ahead and get you guys started. None of this is predetermined, meditated. This is all kind of off the cusp. What I want to know, and just in case chat starts going really fast, don't be afraid to repaste it if we happen to miss it, excuse me. But we're gonna just come up with a bunch of active skills. So I have a Word document here. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you guys. As you can see, it's completely empty. We're just gonna come up with fun skills. And what I think will be fun is maybe after the BARD showcase this next week, maybe we see if anyone got a skill correct. And what I mean by that is, did you come up with the skill that Intrepid already thought of? That's already in the kit. Did you expect this skill? Were our skills that we came up with better than what Intrepid shows? Were they worse? Did they blow you out of like wow, how did we not think of that? Stuff like that. I think that would be really fun to do. So I'll go ahead and get us started.
Yeah.
So I'll start us off with something simple. I'm gonna put the names first. So we remember who came up with what. So I'll just put my name here. Nice. We'll call it drum roll. So drum roll it's going to be an AoE buff. And you don't have to type it in the same order. We'll try to stick to this format, but it's going to be called drum roll. And then the skill, we'll put a dash after the skill name. And then AoE buff, beat drums and allies around you get a, let's say, 10% damage bonus for now, should it be a channel, like they get the bonus while you're channeling it? I'm gonna go that route. Instead of just beating the drums and they got a buff for an amount of time, you have to still be actively channeling the skill, and it costs mana per second. That's gonna be my first skill. Yeah, AoE buff, beat drums and allies around you get 10% damage as long as you channel the ability. And I mean, you don't have to do cost, chat. We don't have to do cost. This is just me letting you guys know I'm not going to have a permanent channel without cost. So cost 5 mana per second. I don't know if 5 mana is too much or too little, but you guys get where I'm going with it, right? So yeah, that's going to be the first one. Here, actually, I could zoom this a little bit less. There we go. There we go. First skill. And what we'll do is do like that. So that's going to be my first skill right there. Oh, that yellow's too bright. Let's make it. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So Hellstalker says, IDK, if y'all ever played Monster Hunter. Oh, dude, I already know where you're going with this. The Hunting Horn is how I'd want them to make BARD, a complex class that can be really powerful if done right, but can also be I made that comparison